Welcome to episode 2 of our series with Chronicles of the Chef and Father. I'm John Dizon, and so this is my sons right here. So my oldest is Kaleo, and this is Immanuel, my middle child. Ocean's not here. She's actually upstairs sleeping right now as we speak. She has a double ear infection. And then we have Nathan Rittenhouse, one of my best friends and brothers in Christ. So in episode 2, we are talking about the children's view at a young age of being raised by a chef. So I'm going to go ahead and put the floor to my kids, Kaleo and Immanuel. What do you remember the most about being raised by a dad who was a chef as a young child?
Something I do remember was always looking forward to you cook, because, to put it gently, my mom's not the greatest cook. So having a meal by someone that could actually cook really good was really nice, and so I always enjoyed that. It's something I always look forward to now.
The one thing about Jen though is because sometimes I'm so spent and tired, I did not cook often. And then a perspective that no one realizes is we cook all day. So the last thing you want to do when you get home, first of all, in the restaurant you cook and you got to clean. A lot of things that people don't realize behind the scenes. And so the last thing I wanted to do when I get home was cook. But sometimes you have to make those sacrifices. But very rarely did I cook. What was your best memory, Kaleo?
Probably one of the best memories I think would be going to Disney and Universal, going to theme parks. It would be a whole day, and I don't know if you'd take off, or I don't remember how that went, but it would just be a whole day, and we'd go get food and enjoy the roller coasters that we could go on and just walk around or enjoy the vendors that they have there. So it was always something to look forward to on the weekends or whenever we could go, and just try to not go whenever it was so crowded and everybody would be there.
So to add context to that, I used to get free tickets to Disney World, but you only can use them once a year, only one time with one guest. Since Kaleo and Immanuel were really young at the time, I don't even know if Immanuel was there for a lot of that, but definitely with Kaleo, when it was just me, Jen, and Kaleo, we would go to Disney World, and we had passes already with Universal Studios at the time. Was $15.95, something really cheap per month. So we had this really old grandfather pass, is what people would say. Oh yeah, you got the old pass. Yeah, we did. And so we got to enjoy going to the theme parks a lot. That was definitely something we did a lot on my time off. I would sleep in a little bit, and then we would go to the theme park and just enjoy a day of roller coasters, or just putting you in a swimsuit or diapers, and you just run around the little splash pads. I definitely remember that. We would watch shows, a lot of shows. And I think for me, it was the people watching, just seeing how angry families were. A lot of families get angry because they bunch, because they don't live there. They would bunch all this stuff. It's paid all this top dollar, and it brings out the worst in their children and people because they're tired. But that's one of the biggest and common things I've seen in the theme parks for sure. What was the worst? You remember much? Was there anything much to say about that?
For me, I would say the worst is whenever you come home, you're tired, you've worked all day, and then we're hyperactive kids with no filter, and then you are trying to correct us, and we're not listening, and then you're already tired, so you just kind of blow up. And then it's not completely your fault, but that's definitely something I remember that wasn't great.
How about you, Kaleo?
I guess another thing is, I feel we had to learn independence at a lot of a younger age, because since you were gone for a lot of the time, and if mom was never feeling well, or whenever she was pregnant with Ocean, me and Emmanuel pretty much had to I don't know, live on our own, it felt like, or we'd have to learn how to cook or clean up after ourselves or find entertainment for the whole day, because we didn't. I mean, we had to like enjoy the simple things, and yeah, just kind of like be a little bit more independent, I feel like.
I could definitely see that, because you did both grow up pretty fast, for sure. I think the worst memories was just not being able to have the energy to come and play sometimes. I would be so tired and drained from the emotion of employees or friction between things that were going on in my job, and just not wanting to really work the job, but I would force myself because I had a whole family to take care of to take care of. Being the only breadwinner, I was the only one working. Jennifer, we were blessed that we were able to have her home, and it wasn't easy, definitely in that aspect. Yes, and I was pretty explosive with and impatient with you guys, even though you were young. But I think being tough as well and just giving me a solid expectation of how you guys were. A lot of people who come your way whenever you sat with us, you were always at your best behavior. But I think it came with a cost of fear, and I realized that. One of the challenges too is if you wanted to play, it wasn't like you asked me. You sometimes would force me, particularly you, Kaleo. I think sometimes if you were hungry when you were younger, but you didn't have words to say because you didn't speak yet, you would literally slap to wake me up. And I'm in my sheets and I'm like, what in the world just happened? And you just stare at me, just blank, like this blank stare. And it was cute. I mean, it was very cute. It was this blank stare, and I could understand you. It was just like we had this telepathy thing going. I'm like, you want to eat. Yeah, and so next thing I know, I'm trying to get up and we'll have breakfast together. Definitely. So I'll probably put some photos of those memories with you growing up too, and your baby photos, if that's okay, on when I edit this out. So, do you notice any changes in how you were raised when you were little as a child? So once your memories came in, so you remember me being tough. Was there any changes slowly as you guys were growing up?
I would like to say like the most changes is definitely whenever Ocean was born. With us, we're like two boys, so like you can be tougher. You don't have to be as sensitive to a girl's feelings. And so whenever Ocean was born, you had to like change your whole like parenting process, I guess, or your style of parenting. And I think that also shifted towards us, and your parenting style wasn't as tough for the most part, and like as like on top, like you know what I'm saying.
Did you notice, besides that Ocean wasn't as stubborn as you two were?
Until now.
Yeah, I feel like she is developing that a little bit later.
A little bit later, just the
But-
opposite.
Yeah.
And now you see me kind of firming up though on her, because I would say, listen, stop doing that, or but I still have to treat her like a lady. I still have, there's a gentleman approach to things, which seems so old fashioned, but yet relevant in today's time. So when we think about raising a young lady, or let alone having a lady, I always taught people to treat women with respect and dignity, and sometimes I wasn't always the best model of that, but I would admit that. I think the one of the biggest approaches as a parent, I would try to be as transparent and tell you all very truthfully, versus other parents would try to hide a lot of secrets from their kids of different things and aspects, which I'm not trying to say I disagree with that. I just think that if you want your kids to have an open relationship with you, you got to be open and honest about yourself, and with humility. It sometimes you feel like, oh, I shouldn't say that. They're going to see me as a wrong or not a good role model. No, I think they would respect you more that you're trying to improve on those behaviors. So it's one of those things. I don't know if you noticed that.
I think for me, it was nice to hear, made me want to do better and obey my parents more when I heard them like admit their something they did wrong, or like, hey, we didn't parent you or teach you this thing very well, or I acted out of anger or something like that. And I was like, oh, they're admitting they're wrong. That I'm wrong and I need to do better to my parents, but not have to do that.
I think I would agree with that, and I think that like whenever you like see, like, you're usually the one that's always like, oh, you did something wrong, you're getting punished, or it's like usually on you. But whenever you see it the other way, it's not that you're getting punished, but whenever you see it the other way, then it's like, oh, it's not just us.
There's something realistic about that approach where you admit your flaws, and it comes with evaluating yourself, being honest, and I think that you guys really did appreciate that approach more when I started using that approach. Nathan, let's go with you too. What did you enjoy most of your childhood, and what were the toughest aspects of your childhood?
What I enjoyed most, a lot of things. Well, I said in episode 1, like, my family got to eat dinner together, which is really nice, and just having that family bonding time. I really enjoyed building forts with all the couch cushions and shooting my sisters with Nerf guns and getting them to forcing them to play Nerf guns with me, and building Legos. I probably, and all my siblings would probably say this, hopefully, that we had a really fun time. Mom and Dad loved having us camp out on the floor at night. So there's this area of their room that fit, when we were young, it was perfect to fit 4 kids right across in a row. And we put all our blankets and pillows down, and then everybody would read their books at night. Eventually Dad would turn off the light, and then we'd beg him most nights to tell us a story, and he'd tell us a story, usually a scary story where everybody in the family had superpowers, and it was a fun time. And then, and then we'd all go to sleep. So it was, that was one of my favorite things. Least favorite things, I don't know, I feel like I was the last kid.
So you felt like you had a great childhood overall.
I had a good childhood. I'd say my least favorite things is probably especially early teenage years. You know, once that changed over, then learning to become a man, which I think we'll get into later in this podcast series. I think that's when I made lots of mistakes and lots of things correct. But I think just picking my sisters last time. Right.
For me, I would definitely say the biggest joy for me in my childhood is my being raised first generation Filipino American, Miami, Florida. My parents were very involved with the community, and so we got to do a lot of charity balls because we would always try to raise support for the poverty that was going on in the Philippines. And so my parents were involved with that in the community. So I got to really experience firsthand, which is something that I would do in my spare time, was always be involved with the kids growing up with a lot of community events, being involved with the church. My parents were not involved with the church really growing up, but I can definitely tell you they were very, very submersed into the Filipino culture and community. So I got to see that growing up a lot. And then the toughest part of my childhood is definitely being an only child. Being raised by 2 Filipino parents, Asian parents, wasn't always the easiest, because I'm not trying to say the expectations were high. It was that there was no other sibling to take the blame. And so I'm always taking the brunt of every blame because I'm the only child. So it was definitely tough. And I would agree with you. There's something about being, as you mentioned, a teenager. You can't regulate your emotions. You didn't know how to express yourself, and I definitely had a hard time expressing myself with words growing up. I always thought being too expressive was a sign of weakness, and I didn't really express myself much. Now I can talk, I can say how I feel, or a little bit better, maybe a lot better, but I don't want to go too far out like that. There's always room for improvement. And so one thing I mentioned to the kids, or my kids, growing up, when they were growing up, was they didn't realize that our family was in poverty during the economic crash of 2008. You were just probably 8 years old. You probably didn't experience much of that, maybe on your end, did you?
I remember some of it, but obviously at 8, I didn't understand what it was.
I would like to say probably. Did you notice any differences?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like you guys, not that you guys hid it from us, but you guys tried to give us the best childhood that you guys could with what we had. And there wasn't ever a time that we were like, oh, I don't know what to eat, or I don't have any clothes, I don't know where I could sleep. Like, we always had the essentials. And I think that made us more like content and enjoy like sometimes the simpler things in life. And then whenever, we have something special, or we can go out, get nice dinner, or go out on vacation, we do the nice things, and we appreciate it a lot more.
We had to learn a lot about budgeting. I think during that economic crash, I was working significantly a lot less. So my annual income at that time during that year was, I think, $19K. And we were still giving to nonprofits. We were still giving to missions. They were even asking us more. It was just like, hey man, we're suffering too, but we try to be understanding, or at least I was. But yeah, in the end, we did our best to hide those factors from our kids, because we don't want them to see we don't want them to see that poverty is an issue. It's just being content at the moment and with what you have. And so as growing up, you saw this. I kept moving up the ladder. You eventually saw that I got up to a decent status and salary, and I kept growing in my career. And you saw how well you lived comfortably as I kept moving up. And that was the thing. Is my biggest motivation was coming home to make sure you all had enough food to eat, and being able to have a comfortable home, and not realize like, oh, we could potentially be evicted because we didn't manage our finances. I managed to, and can say I'm blessed to live as contently at the time, and then now I can buy the luxuries of life and do different things, and we're definitely at an income where we can live comfortably, and you don't experience any of that. So sometimes it can be hard, I'm not gonna lie, but even in today's times it can be a little hard, but I definitely can say we managed to do that, and not have you pay the price for it. So would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think I would also like to add that, like, I feel like if you didn't have the motivation, like, of having a family, like having kids, or having a wife to come home to, I feel like working up and working as much as you did would be like 10 times harder.
Possibly. Or I probably would have just left the industry quicker, because that was something that I've been wanting to do for such a long time. I'm blessed now for the last almost 2 years that I don't have to wake up in the morning and be in the kitchen and putting away inventory and putting away stock and cleaning and cooking all day. Some people don't realize how hard that is. And you're not just managing that, you're managing finances there, you're managing operations, you're managing people. So you're a psychiatrist, you're a mentor, you're a coach, you're a leader, you're a trainer. And some things, and some managers may not always do those things, but I definitely tried to give that aspect to a lot of our the employees that come across my way as best as I can. So, well, I gotta say that this is the conclusion of episode 2, and we'll begin episode 3 shortly.